everyone. Welcome to AAO Radiolab podcast. My name is Kadlagash. I am the AAO fellow and the host of today's episode. Today we will talk about a very exciting topic, two popular majors at NU, which are political science and economics. To explore those two majors in depth, we invited students in a good academic standing majoring in these disciplines. Let's meet our first guest, Adiya, who studies political science and international relations. Hi!
Salam, hello.
Our second guest is Madi, who majors in economics.
Greetings, everyone.
So thank you guys for joining us today. Now let's start off with a more general and brief question about your majors. So, Adiya, what are the key focus areas of political science? What is it about?
Okay, so political science is a social science that studies political processes and behavior. And politics is pretty much about everything. For instance, the water that you drink, it's comparative politics. The war in Ukraine, it's international relations. The decisions that your local akimat makes about some festival, it's public policy. So political science studies lots of fields and it's quite interesting.
Now I want to ask the same question from Madi. Could you tell us about the economics major?
That's really cool because Adiya's words can be used to describe the economics as well. Because economics is also a social science. It tends to describe the people's ability to manage the scarce resources that we have to cover our immense needs and desires. I believe also economics is everywhere. So wherever you, like the studio in which we are sitting currently, is also a product of something, also efficiency and productivity in terms of economics. I would like to say that economics is very wide field to research, and it consists of microeconomics, macroeconomics, game theory. I believe there's also political game theory that we have in the university, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, thank you both for this insightful information. Actually, I didn't know that these mundane everyday things can be related to all of these fields. And now let's dive deeper into the similarities and differences between your disciplines. So, Adiya, in your opinion, in what ways do political science and economics intersect with each other?
I believe there are lots of ways where political science and economics intersect, but as for me, the biggest one is political economy. We have such a class here at NU. I think it's for our department and for economics department. They are separate.
Cool.
So, political economy. It studies how politicians make decisions about the economy. And it could be international political economy. Let's take European Union countries and their trade that they do and the economical exchange that they have. And we also have local political economy. Let's say the politicians who make decisions about whether they want to lower the taxes or keep the taxes as they are. So, here you need to have the basic knowledge of politics, let's say, yes, and also the economics as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually.
I can also adapt to that. So we have the political economy course being offered by the economics department on the third year. Mm-hmm. So it's a 300 level course, and they always had the midterms, quizzes, and the finals at the Senate Hall, which sounds really political. And we also dreamed, where is it? First of all, second of all, what is there to be described as a Senate. Political economy, many people have given feedback, the feedback about it as being really interesting course, offered also by the very competent professor. So I really kind of regret that I didn't take the course being a third grader, being a third year student of economics, but I would really advise it to all of the majors that we have.
Yeah,
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for your advices. And Madi, could you shed some light on the distinctive aspects of economics that sets it apart from political science?
Yeah, I guess if we look at the differences between economics and political science, they actually share a lot of common things. And most of the politicians or economists that you can see worldwide, internationally famous, they had the backgrounds in both of those fields. However, talking about the differences, I can say it's all about approach. So, as Adiya once said, political science students and people who work in political science fields, they are concerned with qualitative sides of gathering information. So it's interviews, it will be focus groups, while economists always would like to work with data. It's evidence, it's maybe real-time, time frame based, and where there's also an econometrics course that is being offered by the professor who I talk was Berke Vazaglu, and they would like to make you work on the indicators, a lot of data, a lot of observations, and you can always say based on evidence that this thing works, this thing don't, while I guess political science leaves a lot of field for the interpretations, for some opinions, for the debating points of view. So I guess that will be the main difference.
I would add to that. Yeah, it's true that political science majors work mostly with qualitative data, but well, I would like to share some insight, and it's like inside joke for our majors that that data that economist majors use, like it's
It's garbage.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying
You said that yourself.
Okay.
It's that they work with models, and sometimes in real life they do not work as expected. And but it's also the same for political science. Just because we are all social sciences and we make some expectations about how people would make decisions in certain contexts, but sometimes it doesn't work out. And in terms of quantitative data, in political science, we also have such a course. It's called Quantitative Methods. It's a required course, and it's also very interesting because we work with with data and learn how to code it in a program called RStudio. I haven't taken the course, but I have to next year, and I believe that it will be quite exciting.
Fair point.
Okay, now I think most of the freshman students are interested in career opportunities in the majors. So let's start with career opportunities in economics.
Okay, so I guess from all of the majors across NU, I guess not taking the engineering as it provides some practical skills in the field, you can end up in absolutely every workplace and fulfill every vacancy that is listed in the Headhunter or the LinkedIn. For economics, especially NU students, always prefer to go for the Astana International Finance Center, Big Four accounting firms, business valuation, something that every NU student is willing and ready to do. It's always about some analytics, it's about making some market overviews, and it also can be about Big Three, some consultancy firms that NU students would like to end up in. Economics doesn't prepare you for the work in the finance or business or entrepreneurship. It's always preparing you. It gives a good solid foundation for everything you can do in this world. It's basic information about inflation, how the government works, taxation, pension funds maybe. And for career opportunities, economics provides you really a lot of jobs that you can end up in.
Okay. Adiya, what kind of career paths do political science majors pursue?
Okay, so as a first year, I used to imagine that as poli-sci major, I would go to two places, and they are the only ones. So it's the government, here in Kazakhstan, or any other government, preferably in the EU, or international organizations such as UN and its agencies. But now I do realize that there are lots of places that political science majors can go to, and lots of them intersect with where economics majors can go to. For instance, one of the places that we can use our skills set of skills, namely analytical, critical thinking, and writing and reading. It's journalism. And as a poli-sci major, just because you know how international relations work, you could write for, I don't know, a big media that writes about international affairs, or you could write about businesses, local businesses and government decisions and anything. So just because I'm practicing it right now, I do understand that there are lots of ways that you can go to. And also you can go to MA studies and study public policy, and then go to public administration, for instance. So you're not limited in the choices. There are lots of things, and at the same time, it's like, I don't know, sometimes it's quite of a pressure because well, there are lots of choices, and you do not know which one to decide. But again, it gives pretty much many opportunities to try and to see if it works for you or not.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think in most majors, especially in social sciences, you should just get creative and explore, and you will find any job you would like to.
Yeah, I guess in terms of journalism, there's always a stereotype that political science students are 24/7 on their phones checking the political news all across the world, and they can basically create a Telegram channel to broadcast everything that they can say about how it can be described through some political science background, some models, political science. I don't know any of this. For me, it's just liberalism or communism, and it's simple as that. Okay. Until we get controversial, let's go to the next question.
Yeah, actually, you touched upon the next question, which is going to be about myths. So I'm sure when you told your parents or your friends that you study political science or economics, they had some kind of assumptions about you. So let's discuss it. And let's start with Adiya and political science, misconceptions and myths.
Talking of relatives, my parents still do not know what I'm studying.
Oh my
They
God.
do not completely understand. They say that, well, this is very much interesting, but we do not understand this. Yeah. So, talking of myths, the first one and the very common one here at NU is that our policy majors grab their latte cups, or I don't know, matcha tea, and their very, very big laptops, and go to Starbucks and sit there all day and do nothing, which is not true. Well, for some people maybe, but as for me, between the finals and midterm weeks, I spend all my days in different hoodies and also with my laptop in my hands, but without a latte or something like this. And the second one is that most of us want to pursue our careers in the UN. Well, if you had a chance to talk to first years, yes, maybe most of them do imagine working at the UN agencies. But at the same time, by the end of the first year or even second year, you do understand that, well, UN is not the only place you can go to. And quite fairly speaking, UN... Well, I do not appreciate the work that they're doing right now, especially Security Council, yeah. But it's just my humble opinion.
Okay.
That is like League of Nations, UN. Sounds really fancy.
Yeah.
So in terms of the economics, I guess I'm predicting your next question. Myths about economics. I guess I can share a personal insight about the political science. So I have a friend that we shared some courses together previous semester, and she actually had a MacBook with her every time, and she really enjoys drinking matcha tea. So for me, the stereotype is more than working, more than realistic. So in terms of economics, everybody thinks that it's all about money, it's all about business, it's about making your own, like opening an IP and starting some trades. But I believe, as I've previously described economics, it's all about some utility, overall happiness, it's about productivity, it's about monitoring fiscal policies what can governments do, for example, to perform their tasks pretty accurately. accurately and efficiently. In terms of the myths, so many people would like to ask, if you're an economist or you're majoring in economics, why don't you usually end up in the fourth list? And it might be the fair point, but some of us do. I hope in future. And the second myth that I would like to share is that economics is not practical anymore. We are studying some outdated information that was once relevant and now it's no longer. And since many people who are going to Big 4 and Big 3, they are taking some practical courses outside the university, so it will be either Coursera or Udemy courses, and they always share it on LinkedIn, so you have the fear of missing out. Actually, the economics provides some somewhat rigid foundation of what is going on in the world. Right. So when you see the speculations about the inflation, the credit debts that Kazakh people have every time, after some researches in economics, you usually can debunk those myths and see the lies, see the exaggerations, and it's really fun. It's really fun for me, especially.
And useful as well.
Yeah, I would add to that, well, as a policy major, when you read news, it's also, you start to understand that lots of things that people say are lies. They are not true, or they are exaggerated. And yeah, and also in terms of social science majors, the common myth is that we have very low rate of career opportunities. So people think that we struggle with finding work, and sometimes it's true. Again, it's sometimes it's pure luck, and most of the times it's the work that you put in. So if you work hard and you actually know the thing that you do, you will do good. And if you don't do the work, well, then you might end up jobless.
Right?
True. Uniform for all majors.
Yes.
You guys told us that you've taken courses of each other, like Adiya took economics classes and Madi also took some econ classes. So why didn't you decide to, for example, major in economics and chose political science and vice versa? So yeah, could you share your impressions?
Yeah, I can start. So I've took one course as a political science. It was a politics 101, I guess. So as an economics student, you have to fulfill the requirements of 4 social science courses and 3 humanities courses, if I'm being right, due to the academic handbook that we have. And it was really an interesting course that was taught by Neil Collins, the professor here, and it was a really political science moment when we had that. We always in the Zoom chat. It was a distant, so everyone was in their towns, and in the chat we were discussing in private messages at Zoom whether the professor is English or not. So is he from England or not? Yeah. And we were always trying to ask it from him. And once we did during the Q&A session, it turned out that he's Irish. And from the political view standpoint, that's a really controversial thing, and it was quite an insight about political science that we have. I really enjoyed this process because one of my research works that I've done was about election process in Malaysia, I believe. It's really a weird thing because you don't understand the Malay language. You don't know anything about the cultural aspects of this country, and you can see that it's really weird and strange for the person that doesn't belong to politics usually, but I did it. I enjoyed it. I've actually gave a positive feedback on the course, and for me, political science was among the majors that I've considered after transferring from the electrical engineering. So it was among economics and political science, but as one of the stereotypes and myths that we had is political science, you're going to the work into a government, and it might be actually problematic. So I've decided to choose economics.
Oh. Okay, so in my first year, I had 3 choices, and I took all the required courses for 3 majors, and I could declare any of them. So my experience with microeconomics class in my first semester, well, it was an interesting experience, let's say. It started good, like to the whole point where you learn that where demand and supply meet, it's good.
Yes, I agree.
Equilibrium.
I've
Yeah.
also taken economics.
So yeah, it was interesting up to that point.
Yes.
And then the graphics started to become more challenging, and there were other lines adding up, like something strange happening. And though I really tried hard to learn to read the textbook and to listen to the professor and go to the office hours, for me understanding this was quite challenging. And then I took also macroeconomics class, and it became even more interesting because at the time I already took the international relations class, and it was also GDP and the state economy, so this thing started to become easier. But at the same time, again, when it comes to graphs, well, it's very challenging.
It's the most interesting part.
So in political science, we have, well, not that many graphs. So I'm not saying that this is the only option I had, and that's why I chose political science. No, but just, well, it depends on the person, I guess. And also in political science major, there is a class, political economy. I think it's taught by Professor Maya Savievska. It's a very demanding course. I didn't take it, but people said that it's interesting. Also, there is political game theory course, which is also very demanding, but again, it's very interesting. But the grades there, I think, do not go higher than B+. Yeah, I'm not sure it's because of because class is hard, or it's because economics is hard. So, yeah, that's it. But my favorite course in as policy major was, I took it last semester. It was Science, Technology, and International Affairs by Professor Sabina Nisibaeva, and there we talked about chemical weapons, biological weapons, nuclear weapons, how internet affects the society and politics, and how digital politics change the world right now, like Twitter politics, Trump and everything. So, and we in the very first minutes of our talking, I said that politics is about everything, and actually it is, because science, it's also about politics, because politicians give the money for the research and development, and so that's why, well, some fields are over-researched and others are under-researched. Yeah, so this was what was your favorite course in economy?
In economics?
Economics.
Arguably, international trade course gives a really cool insight about how the trade works worldwide and why do countries usually trade, because it's like you can evaluate the process quantitatively. So let's say that I produce bananas. It's really a favorite example of all economists.
Wow.
It's on the apples and bananas every time.
Even in politics?
No, it's in
No,
economics.
it's
I
in
mean,
economics.
I remember something from my
Okay.
microeconomics.
It's like 5th grade math classes when you have someone with 300 kilos of apples doing something. And for example, I produce bananas, Karlgar produces some chocolates, and if we produce it on our own or decide to produce both of those products, we can be as efficient. If, for example, I was, since my childhood, I was really focusing on producing apples, and I know how to do it. And you basically know how to make chocolates. So I have to specialize in bananas, in apples or bananas. Doesn't matter. Names are interchangeable. And you produce chocolates, and we can trade those at the special rate, for example. It's based on how we evaluate those goods. Opportunity cost of everything, but I actually have to give the second place. It's an extra nominee to a game theory course, and recently political game theory and economics game theory have become anti-requisites since they cover the similar and the same field of game theory, and it's usually always interesting to see that you have to make an action that is the best response to all of the actions of the previous of your opponent.
Yeah.
Like prisoner's dilemma is the simplest.
I actually
simplest
heard
example
about
of this.
it. My friends, when I was I had some economics student friend, and he was talking about game theory, and he gave me this example, and I found it really interesting. If I could understand it, I would have taken it, but sorry, I am world languages and literature student, so
Okay.
yeah.
I used to think that prisoner's dilemma belongs to poli-sci majors.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess it's something that we share.
It's our thing, but yeah, I
Yeah.
believe it's common for social science.
I guess corruption is things that we also share. In both of the fields.
Absolutely true.
I guess game theory gives you a clear insight of how people tend to behave. So it's social science. So you can see that people, we usually consider them as rational agents.
Yes.
So people know they want to increase their happiness. So they behave in a certain way. So the prediction and models that we use through game theory are applicable to both economics and political science. What political science course did you enjoy the most?
So it was science, technology, and international affairs. And also I could say the course, 300 level course, nationalism by Professor Karashenk. It was wholly discussion-based course. Well, we read many readings and then we discussed them, but it was interesting to see how nationalist movements work in through a decolonial lens. That's happening here in Central Asia right now, and that started to happen back when African countries became independent. So yeah, and to see what's going now in Ukraine also through nationalist movement view. Yeah, so probably pretty much every course I took, except political theory courses. For all first year students, I would say you have to go through this experience, and for some of you it will not be rewarding, so be prepared. But yeah, well, it's interesting still.
You also mentioned like one professor, and I think this professor has like CoronaNet.
Professor Karashenk.
Karashenk, yeah.
Yes.
So, and I came up with the question. So, what kind of opportunities maybe students have? Maybe some kind of array stuff that they can do, like in the university while they're in the university.
Okay, so we have plenty of professors who are doing their research right now. Well, let's start from Karashenk. So the Professor Karashenk is now still doing the CoronaNet project, and pretty much anyone from NU can join that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I'm taking it right now.
I do too.
Oh, so we can talk about it.
Yeah. So also you can. I think there is also such an opportunity when you come up with an idea for a paper. For instance, you took a class with a professor and you thought that, well, I'm interested in writing about, nuclear safety of Central Asia region and what people think about it. And then you come up to your professor and say, well, professor, I think I did good in your class. Maybe we could do research together. And then you make a research proposal and the professor will see if it works or if it doesn't. Also, there are some ongoing projects. I believe my friends from took courses with Professor Jessica Nefi, and she took her students to a field trip all over Kazakhstan.
Wow.
So they went to North Kazakhstan and so pretty much everywhere, and they took interviews from locals, and they went even to rural places, and well, from what they say, it's quite interesting. So I think as policy major, you have plenty of things to go to.
As an economics student, I'm currently a part of several research projects that are going on in the economics department and are being offered by the economics professors. So I'm taking ones with Professor Dana Badarkulova and Professor Andrei Tkachenko Dana Badarkulova is my advisor, and Professor Andrei Tkachenko is the professor that taught international trade. That was one of the courses that I enjoyed most. And it's really interesting because now I have to pursue some skills in data analytics. So it's a work in Python, or visit some libraries, some local libraries. That I guess at NU you always think that everything is available online, and it's a common misconception here in Kazakhstan, that you have to physically, for example, visit the archive and access some data. And it's really interesting being covered in papers just to research some. It was a stereotype that I had about the researchers, and now I face it myself. The CoronaNet, as Adiya outlined, or Karlash outlined, is a really enjoying experience that I'm currently taking. So we have a deadline coming in a week, and we have to make the 500 points milestone, and it's really complex, Also, in terms of research, it all started with that I've emailed my professor. I sent an email to my professor that I got a good grade in passing your course. Can I get a reference letter? And he said, it's not that easy. That I have to give it based on some work, and on the course I don't see the work that you do in detail. So what about you take the research? What about you do the research, and then I can basically refer to you as a hard-working person, and etc. So that was a really interesting start for me, and it currently continues. So it's really cool.
As we are wrapping up, and you already started giving great advice, so what advice would you give to students who are choosing between these two majors, economics or political science? And since Adiya started giving some good advice, I start with Adiya.
Okay, so I remember myself being in my first year and deciding between world languages, economics, and political science as my last choice. And when the time came and I had to declare a major, I chose political science major. And I'm telling you the truth, I regret it sometimes. And I can't say that I got rid of these regrets. This happens. But at the same time, I appreciate the set of skills that political science major gives me, because I do understand that now I'm thinking faster. I can deal with big piles of data in an hour. Well, it will require lots of work, but I do know that I can. And but at the same time, I would also say my first advice again would be to lower your expectations, because as poli-sci majors, again, there are lots of myths about us that we sit at Starbucks and do nothing, but at the same time it requires lots of work. So we have lots of papers to write and lots of readings to read, and all of it requires attention and constant self-development. But again, all of this might sound scary, but at the same time it's very much interesting and rewarding experience, because in poli-sci major, in one class you can study the political system of communist China, and in the next class you learn about and debate about nationalist movements in Central Asia. So you have plenty of choices and plenty of opportunities to learn, and also we have great professors. And I would advise to the students the first years to reach for advice if you feel like it, because in our department I'm so proud of our professors, all of them, and I believe that if you struggle to choose, if you struggle to understand if poli-sci is your thing or not, you could reach for advice, and I think that they would help you always.
Yeah, thank you. What about Madi? Do you have anything to add?
I guess for economics, it's especially at NU, you have plenty of time to realize if you want to study economics or not. So you have to declare, you have to take 3 courses. So it will be Maths 161, it will be an introduction to microeconomics and macroeconomics, and you have to pass them with a good grade. It will be B+, B- and higher. So you have plenty of time to actually ask yourself if you really want to study economics and does it interest you. Being a peer tutor in Introduction to Macroeconomics myself, many of people are actually asking some personal questions during the sessions, like, does it really applicable? Would it be useful to me? And if you ask those questions, then you are generally not being confident that you like the economics economics, and it might be not a really a smart decision to choose it right way, because I had the experience in engineering. I had the one semester, and I didn't find it suitable to me, so I chose the economics right now. And my second piece of advice would be that in economics, if you see someone with good academic standing, there is no secret. He's not cheating. He's not doing something specially. It's always a hard work and dedication and consistency in maintaining good grades, fighting for every percent. When you go to appeals, you're really terrified that you might actually end up with a lower grade that you had before you go for an appeal, and it's always a trade-off in your head. So these are those people who are fighting for. So there is always a hard work that you put in the courses and to complete it. So economics is really enjoying for myself and for many people who take it. So I advise you to think about it in a thorough detail.
Yeah, and talking of academic standing, I think in both of our majors, because they are very competitive, it's always about the peer pressure. Right. And it starts from the very first days of university, because you watch people's LinkedIn profiles and all of the achievements that they have like them every day, that internship, this internship, from the very first day of the university life. I mean, how? Yeah, so it's okay. I mean, it's okay to have doubts about your major and whether you chose the right one or not. It's okay to have doubts about whether you belong to the place or to the major or to life, whatever. So yeah, it's okay. So just try things, do your thing, and work hard. And I believe it will work out. Most of the times it does. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree to that completely. It's always a path from the person who is being pressured to becoming the source of pressure when you actually have some success and you share it on social media. So it's a great advice that I'm absolutely confined with.
Yeah, thank you. And in the end, no one knows what they're doing. So like 100%. We just do some things and we just try them. So
yeah, just work hard and just
don't forget about your mental health.
Yeah, so that's a good point.
Sports.
That's really important. And thank you guys for those insightful information about your majors and also like great advice. I think freshman students will really enjoy this podcast. Yeah. And to all our listeners, thank you for listening to this episode. We hope that we have given you valuable insights into these two majors and give you good advice. So stay tuned until the next exciting episode, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.